Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello over there, everybody. This is Ron LeGrand again with another edition of the Mentor Podcast, designed to help you make more money, make it quicker, and keep more of it, and retire filthy, stinking rich. I have a very special guest today. His name is Blair Halver. Happens to be one of my students that's doing well in the North Carolina market. Also was in our mastermind group this year. And I think it's important for you to hear how he and others are doing their business. And you're probably going to get some ideas on how you can adapt what they do to what you can and should be doing. Hello, Blair.
Hello.
I'm glad to have you. So here's how this works. I ask questions, and then you just answer them and rudely interrupt whenever you feel like it, and just
you got it.
Tell us. Okay, all right. Okay, you're good at that. All right.
Yeah.
So first of all, you've been on Planet Ron how long? When was your first Quick Start school? How many years ago?
Gosh, just a couple of years ago, 2016.
Okay. And what's going on in your life? You live in the Charlotte area, right?
Yeah, I live in Mooresville, just north of Charlotte. So halfway between Charlotte and Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Those are the two markets that I work and do deals in. Good.
You know, Winston's where my brother lives, and you live in Mooresville. And way back, we had a project up there, a single-family house development, pre-2008. So I'm familiar with Mooresville. In fact, I bought that project. I brought the land from Jeremy Mayfield, the race car driver. So.
Oh yeah.
2008 kind of killed the project, but it sure was a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
So, okay, what does your business look like right now? Because I'm going to ask you, what kind of deals you're doing, what's your staff look like, how many hours a week do you put into it, and so forth. So let's start with, what are you doing?
Yeah, so we're ended up getting about 3 or 4 contracts a month. And most of the deals that we do, we'll buy them with seller financing, typically buying them subject to taking over the debt. Maybe we'll give the seller a carryback with no payments, no interest, no balloon. And then we sell them my favorite way, and probably your favorite way too, selling them on a lease option, getting a big down payment from the tenant buyer, getting the monthly spread and the back end equity as well.
All right, so let's go back a minute. In your case, if it's a subject to deal, which for our listeners, that means he just takes over the debt. He does not guarantee the debt. There's no applications. There's no permission needed from the bank or anyone else except the seller. The seller just signs the closing papers and goes about their life. And then Blair starts making payments when he and the seller agreed to start, which is usually 2 or 3 months after you purchase. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
That is correct. Just like you were taught. Okay.
That's right.
So in your case, though, you don't do a wraparound mortgage. If the seller's got any money coming over and above their debt, you don't do a wraparound mortgage. You just take over the first and then give them a second mortgage back for the second. Correct?
That's right. Yep.
Which is totally fine, incidentally, folks. In fact, most of those, I would guess, would probably be no payments and no interest with some kind of balloon in them, right?
And actually no payments, no interest, and no balloon either. But we do make it due on sale, because that's whenever we cash out of the deal, that's when we pay them off.
Well, of course. And also that gives you a great opportunity to discount those seconds that are no interest seconds as well, no payment seconds.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Which leads to big discounts, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you're telling me you don't have a term on the seconds?
That's correct. Yeah.
Your attorney approved that?
He did. And actually, that's the reason we had to put the due on sale in there, because if we had no qualifiers in there, no payments, no interest, no balloon, no due on sale, then it becomes a demand note. This is what I learned. And so you have to put some kind of qualifier in there on when I'm going to pay them off. Otherwise, they could just come up to me anytime they want and demand payment. So we put that due on sale in there.
That's why I'm curious why you just didn't put a balloon in them.
Well, I'd rather have no time limit and just due on sale than having a balloon.
All right. Either way will work. And
that's right.
You should do what your attorney tells you to do.
Yeah.
All right. So then you install lease option tenant buyers in there. What price range houses are you dealing with for the most part?
Our ARVs are anywhere from 80 to 250, and we just got a contract on a $410,000 house, so we're moving on up.
Good. And so what kind of down payments are you getting from those 150, 250 houses?
Yeah, amazingly, we'll still get 20,000 down on a $130,000 house. It's just about doing the marketing to generate buyer leads and waiting for the right buyer to come along.
And to clarify, these are nice houses in nice areas, not crack houses needing renovated. We're talking about here, right?
Correct. Most of them, yeah.
You're in the terms business, is what you're in.
That is correct.
All right. So you take over the property subject to and owe the seller nothing, or take it over and owe them something, or buy it on a wrap if they don't want you to buy it subject to. One of those three things, right? Do you at least option any from the sellers?
I had to do that once when the seller, they started freaking out about, title transferring without getting paid off. So I just, converted it to a lease option just to save the deal.
And I would recommend doing the same thing, listeners. I want to buy it. I don't want to lease it, but there are times when I'll lease it because I can't buy it because the seller won't let me, if there's enough reason for me to stay in the deal, which probably is a very low monthly payment or a lot of equity in the house that the seller's willing to give me.
Yeah.
All right. So you are putting them in a house. You get $20,000 minimum from them, even on these cheap houses. What would you expect to get out of that $400,000 house?
Oh man, we're shooting for 40 grand, 40, 50 grand.
Shoot for 50.
Yeah.
Because $410,000 is above your FHA limit where you're at. And that means a buyer that's even qualified is going to need about a 20% down. Might get away with 10 if they're really, really squeaky clean. So, 20% down is $80,000 they have to go if they go to the bank. So for you to get them to put up 50. A good thing about dealing with $400,000, folks, is that people looking at those houses aren't broke. They're not calling to give you a $500 down payment and pay $500 a month on them. They pretty much know that they got to have money to get in these houses. So is that what you're finding so far?
Yeah, we actually just picked that one up. So we're just starting marketing it now, but that is what I fully expect. Yep.
Okay. So basically, after spending some time in our real estate mastermind group, you have finally made the decision to move it on up and get out of the cheap stuff because you discovered that more dollars you waller in, the more stick to you.
That is exactly right. And, a lot of times it's easier dealing with the higher priced homeowners as opposed to the lower end. And it takes the same amount of work to do the deal. Let's do bigger deals. And
since our market is slowing down right now, folks, the sellers are having a harder time selling these higher end houses as well. They're what gets hit first. And generally, I'm talking about houses, $500,000 and well above that. But they're great targets right now because the sellers aren't just slapping them on the market and having people stand in line to buy them and pay more than they're worth, like they might have been maybe even a year ago. So as the market adjusts, what we know is we'll never run out of a market to sell houses on terms, will we, Blair?
That is correct.
Because we are catering to the 60-70% of the marketplace that cannot qualify for a house but would love to own one.
Yeah, and when I first heard you talk about that in Quick Start, I didn't believe you until I went out there and actually did it and got $20,000 down on a $130,000 house, and they were thanking me for it. It's crazy.
Right, well, that's true. But you are kind of a skeptical guy, so I don't doubt you didn't believe it. Believe it now, though, don't you? Huh?
I sure do.
All right. So how you go about selling these houses now to where you can track the buyers that have money?
Yeah. So, we post the listing on our website, obviously. We put it out on Zillow, Craigslist, everywhere else we can think of. And then most of our buyer leads are coming from Facebook, and we'll actually run paid ads, pay-per-click ads on Facebook, generating buyer leads for each specific house. And then they come into our system, and my assistant calls them all and does the pre-screening with them. And then, if they got money, she sets an appointment, goes out and sees the house with them, and collects a hold fee, usually $1,000, $2,000, and we're off to the races.
So your Facebook ads, are they generic or specific? Do you mention address in them, or are they just generic?
Yeah, they are specific for each property. I would rather have them have the leads be qualified by, they already want the house before they even call us, so that we know once we get on the phone with them, it's not about finding a house for them. We already got the house that they want, and we know they want it.
Right. But so you don't put the address in the ad, do you?
We do actually. Well, we don't put the address in the ad. We make them opt in and submit their info to get the address and then the photos and everything else. Yep.
Yeah, not good move. Put address of house in ad. Never know who's going to go to that address knowing it's vacant. So they have to opt in to get some information, and that's where they learn where the address is and the house is all over your website, so they can see about everything they need to see before they even go out to the house, right?
That's correct. Yep.
All right. So, Facebook ads are working very well for you, and you can target them very closely, can't you?
Oh yes, yeah. We can. The geographic targeting that Facebook provides is really really spot on. So we use that a lot.
Give me some of the examples of targeting you'd use.
Well, for our buyer leads, we're going to run a few different audiences, but the one that consistently outperforms all the others, believe it or not, is actually going broader with the targeting in terms of, okay, I've got a 10 to 15 mile radius around the house, but I'm not going to put any other qualifiers on there. You know, some people like to put this, they have a likely to move category, they have other interests, but honestly, I just want to show it to everybody in the market, just as if I was putting a bandit sign out on the street corner at a major intersection. I want everybody to see it, as many people as possible to see it. And then, you know, the interested parties, they're going to respond, and we're going to deal with those people.
The more qualifiers you put on there, the more you're limiting your lead flow.
That's right. Yep.
So you leave all you care about is if they're anywhere in the area. Now, you do put the word lease purchase and those unique selling propositions in your ad.
That is correct.
What does your ad say?
Yeah, so generally we'll say either rent to own or owner financing available, depending on the price range of the house. If it's a higher price house, we might say owner financing instead of rent to own. Mm-hmm. But we're putting those unique selling propositions in there. You know, bad credit okay, no bank qualifying, all the stuff you taught me.
Okay. So for our listeners in Texas, though, you won't be using the words lease option. You will definitely be using the words owner financing, because you can't lease option them in Texas. You're going to buy them with owner financing. You're going to sell them with owner financing. All right. So when you run these Facebook ads, can you give me an idea about how much you spend on these things when you're selling a house or two or three at the same time?
Yeah, we set up the campaigns where they spend about $7 a day per house, right? I'm talking minimal budget, and we'll get leads. Our cost per lead for buyers is obviously a lot lower than our cost per lead on sellers. So on buyers, we're spending anywhere from 90 cents a lead up to maybe $2 on the high side. But we'll get 200 or 300 buyers in there. Now they're in our database. So if we don't sell them this house, we can sell them the next one.
So you're building your buyers list at the same time you're selling the houses, which of course we always do. Yeah, that's
right.
And so when they respond to your ad, where does that take them? Buyers to your site?
Yeah. So when they respond to the ad, we get their info, and then they click a link, go over to the website, and see that actual property listing on our website.
Okay. And then there's also a place for them to fill out the buyer sheet, telling you what they're looking for and how much they got down, how much they can pay per month, right?
That's right. But you know how it is. Most people don't take the effort to do that unless they're super motivated and want the house. So that's why I have my assistant. She gets on the phone and calls each one of them as soon as they submit their information, so that she can get all the facts from them.
And so they must submit the phone number, or they can go nowhere, right?
That's right.
So then your assistant calls them and fills out the form that got out of my book, ask them the questions, then basically determines how much they got to put down and how much they can pay per month, which is two biggies.
Yep.
And maybe even very close to the only thing that matters.
That's right.
And then tells them how to get in the house, right?
Yeah. And you know, if my assistant talks to them and they got, $30,000, $40,000 sitting in their bank account, ready to spend on a house, she's going to go meet them at the house ASAP.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest the same thing. Now, this is the same assistant that's going to get a deposit from them if they want the house.
That's correct. Yeah.
Correct. Now, are you using my deposit and receipt agreement form?
Oh, yes. Application receipt agreement every single time.
So, guys, what that means is he's getting a deposit from them, but he's not taking the house off the market. And that form is on your Gold Club site, if you're a Gold Club member. And if you're not, you should be one at ronsgoldclub.com. And what that form does is clearly state, I'll take your deposit. If I don't take you, I'll give your deposit back. But if I do take you and you back out, you'll keep your deposit. And you're not taking the house off the market. This is just a receipt for their deposit. That's all it is. So literally,
that's right.
I learned the hard way. You better not take a house off the market until you know it's about ready to close.
Oh, yeah.
After it's closed, for that matter.
I
can make a case for not taking it off the market for a while because you're still generating leads on it from potential buyers.
That's true. Yep.
All right. So your assistant goes out and gets a deposit, and then you add an application, and then you bring that information back and send it. You use screenthetenant.com?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the guy who will clean credit for us and also pull some reports on these folks, check their credit worthiness, tell you whether they ever have a chance to get a loan or not. And he'll also produce several other reports for a measly $50. So we know who we're dealing with. And then if you like what you see, you just call a meeting. Do you call a meeting at the house, or you have an office? What?
I don't have an office, just work from home. So we'll usually call a meeting. And actually, I don't even go to the meetings anymore. I've trained my assistant to do that, negotiate and get the down payment and the monthly payment up as high as possible, just like I would do if I was there. And so they call the meeting, and they usually meet at Panera or Starbucks or somewhere like that. And she, runs them through the script. My assistant runs them through the process and explains everything to them. And then the next step that we take after that is we fill out just a simple one-page letter of intent. So we just outline the terms that we then send over to the attorney. He draws up all the rest of the documents and sets a signing ceremony and gets it done.
And for all of our listeners, my one-page letter of intent is a yellow pad where I write down the information that the attorney needs. Buyers' names and how much per month and when the payments start and how much down and so forth. Basically, just go down the blanks in your lease option agreement that's on the Gold Club site and give him the information to fill in the blanks. That's all you're really doing. And
that's right.
So you call the attorney, or she calls the attorney right there while they're there and makes an appointment for them to close it a couple 3 days later, right?
That's correct. Yep.
All right. So they go to your attorney and they close the lease option in front of your attorney, and then you make them pay the attorney's fee.
Oh yeah, $400.
Okay. Doggone, man. You actually, what? You're a rare human being. You're a man who actually follows instructions to the T. I'm having a hard time believing this, I swear. Okay,
yeah,
so
it took me a while.
All right. So what do you do all day?
I don't know. I throw the ball with my dog out in the backyard. I pick up my kids from school. I, hang out and went trick-or-treating and on Halloween and just, running the business from my desk. Just like you taught me.
You probably feel kind of guilty and sometimes even think about giving the money all back, right?
That thought crossed my mind back in the beginning, but I've gotten rid of that thought.
Yeah, it went away in seconds, didn't it?
That's right.
So how are you doing on building monthly cash flow from the spreads on these things when you put tenant buyers in them?
The spreads are getting better. When I first started out, I was willing to take any deal as quickly as possible and take any buyer as quickly as possible. Now that I've been in it a while, I realize that, it's better to have an empty house for another few weeks than put the wrong tenant buyer in there. Kind of sounds familiar. Sounds like something you taught me.
Yeah. Every landlord knows that.
Yeah.
So in other words, you learn to have patience and not take first person to come along throws a little bit of money at you.
That's right. That's right. I learned my lesson on a couple of those.
Yeah, well, that's called seminar.
That's right.
To be fair, for you to get $20,000, you got to go through quite a few buyers that have less to get to the one that's got the money that you would accept. Is that fair?
That is definitely true. Although I will say, sometimes we get lucky, and we'll put signs out, and in the first week, somebody with 20 grand calls us.
Right.
So sometimes you just don't know.
So you put pointer signs out pointing to the house, just like you were trained.
Yes.
And you run Facebook ads. And anything else you do to sell them?
Yeah, post on Zillow. And then, we're building our buyers list. And so we send weekly emails out to them. And then individual emails whenever we get a new property, we'll announce that new property.
Right. So that's the beauty of having this buyers list with all the information in it, not just some worthless email address. You actually know how much these buyers have to put down, how much they can pay per month before you ever even find them a house.
That's right.
So you go to them first. Do you ever do a 1 hour open house on Saturday like the Wolves do? We
have. And sometimes, if we'll get 30, 60 days into marketing a house and we haven't sold it yet, it's time to run an open house. Let's do the 1 hour sale and get it done.
Truth is, a good part of the time you don't even need to, do you?
That is correct. That's why we wait.
Yeah. And frankly, if you get your buyers list at the point where you got a bunch of people with money sitting around, now it's just a matter of letting them know you got it and get them out there and move quick and decide whether they got enough money for you or not.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Do you use my down payment assistance program to try to get them to pay more money every month toward their down payment above the rent?
Yes. Yeah. So every now and then, we present that to every buyer when we meet and do the deal meeting and when we're setting up the letter of intent. Sometimes they go for it, sometimes they don't. And sometimes we don't even have to offer it because their rent is so high, that they've already offered that we don't have to offer the down payment assistance.
Right.
And they couldn't afford any more anyway if they wanted to.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned that you have a person that goes out and meets the buyers. Do you have an acquisition that deals with sellers?
That's correct. Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your acquisition only deals with sellers.
Yeah. Well, my assistant who works with the buyers, she will handle some of the sellers as well because she lives in Winston-Salem. And I also have a second acquisitionist who lives down in Charlotte. And so we kind of split up the market that way, Charlotte versus Winston-Salem.
Okay.
So, but yeah, the acquisitionist is primarily, this guy in Charlotte, he's primarily focused on sellers and he'll help out with buyers too, but we let my assistant handle most of that.
So then it's fair to say that each acquisitionist handles the business in their prospective cities.
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
Buying and selling. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, sir, you just made a case of how I can be in one city and run businesses in other cities.
Yeah, that's it. And I live halfway between the two, but I never go to either of them. So,
I don't blame you. I was just up at my brother's house getting apple juice in October, and man, the traffic in Charlotte sucks.
Yeah, I try not to go to Charlotte.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay, so who else do you have on your team?
So we've got my assistant, we've got the acquisitionist, and then I've got my own in-house virtual assistant. And I say in-house, I just mean, he's working full-time for me. He's actually based in the Philippines.
Okay, so he just does the grunt work that you would normally have our virtual assistants do, and your PA, of course, does everything else. So you got a full-time PA, right? All right.
Correct.
But you don't have an office. Where's your PA work?
She works from home, and her home is actually one of my lease options that I sold to her.
All right. And you find that works just fine.
Yeah, she loves it. She's very grateful.
As long as she gets the stuff done you need her to do, you don't care where she works, do you?
Exactly.
Okay. And if you need to scream at her, you can do it over the phone.
That's right.
If you're not 10 feet away from them. Okay.
That's right.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, how long were you in this business before you started getting these acquisitionists, sir?
It probably took me 6 months before I realized I don't want to do all this running around anymore. Let me just hire somebody to do it. And actually, the real impetus for hiring my first assistant, who is the one I am still using today, was, I was heading out on a family vacation in a couple weeks coming up. And this was a couple years ago now. And so I said, man, I got to get my butt in gear, get the assistant hired, get them trained up. And so I did. And, it took a little longer than 2 weeks. But by the time I got her trained up, I went on my vacation, come back. She's got 2 deals signed up for me. So I'm like, I should have done this sooner.
Yeah, you should be gone more.
Yeah. That's right.
I learned the same thing way back in the 80s. I just couldn't believe that could work without me. In fact, I was hurt. How could this happen without me? But I tell you what, I got over the hurt real quick and got used to it. And to this very day, I don't want to do nothing. I'm like you, man. I'm lazy. I don't delegate everything as fast as it comes at me because, frankly, the people that are doing it are better at it than I am anyway. So there's just a few things that I ever want to do, and I do them well, and I just don't want to do all the other stuff. And that's why we hire acquisitionists, to keep us from having to do what they do every day. Do you pay your acquisitionists a salary plus commission, or just, I know commission's a bad word, salary plus bonus, or just bonus, or what?
Just bonus to the acquisitionist, but my assistant makes a weekly salary plus commission.
Oh, commission based on the sales that you make.
Correct.
Which, of course, is a much smaller commission than your acquisitionists make. Do you care to share how you pay your acquisitionists? Because I know that's what they're asking, whether we answer it or not.
How much I'm paying?
Yeah.
I pay her $600 a week, and plus 5% of any deals that she brings the buyer in.
Your PA or your acquisitionist?
That's the PA.
Okay.
She's handling the buyer leads. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how about the acquisitionists? They're not on your payroll, right?
Correct. They don't get any weekly salary. Yeah. Correct. And they just get 20% of the front end profit.
Okay, so they get 20% of the non-refundable option deposit you get from tenant buyers.
That's right.
Which could be a very, very, very lucrative position for an acquisitionist. If you're doing 3 or 4 deals a month, God, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money.
I want him motivated.
Okay. Yeah. You want them motivated.
Yeah.
Because without them, you don't really have a business, do you?
That's right. That's right.
All right. So when you started, though, don't even try to tell me that your first acquisitionist you hired worked out okay.
No. To be honest, I went through a couple duds. And I guess that comes with the territory. But, you know, man, it's just so worth it to persevere and just, you know, continue on that process of finding the right one. Because once you do, you get them trained, man, it's like, it's life changing.
Got it. I understand. Same with your personal assistant.
Yep. That's right.
Is it a she?
My assistant is a she, and the other acquisitionist is a he.
Well, okay. Wait a minute now. You said you had a personal assistant plus 2 acquisitionists. Was I wrong?
So the personal assistant kind of does double duty, personal assistant and acquisitions up in Winston.
Okay. So she is an acquisitionist as well as your personal assistant. So she gets a salary plus commission. The other fellow just gets a bonus.
Commission.
All right.
That's right.
I don't want to use the word commission because they're not licensed, are they? All right.
No.
Okay. Blair, what's the biggest hurdle do you remember having to overcome when you got started in this business?
You know, when I first got started, I mean, I still remember to this day, the first time I started making calls out to sellers, my hands were literally shaking. But, you know, you do 2 or 3 calls, 4 calls, and, you know, you realize there's nothing scary about it. It's just a matter of doing it. You got to get on the phone, talk to sellers. So I think, you know, the biggest hurdle for me was making myself push past the fear and just do it. All right. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That's a good book I read.
Right. And at that time, we didn't have the personalized in-depth training for making that closing call that we do today. So you didn't even have an opportunity to go through that.
That's right.
You just had to master it on your own. Even though you had the scripts, you just still had to get through that fear, which I've got to tell all of our listeners is the number one biggest roadblock for all of our new clients coming in a terms business. But frankly, you master that simple call and get 3 questions answered. The rest is easy. Well, we got to get you through that process first. All right. Well, listen, I understand that you've got a video you would like for people to go see. Why don't you describe it? What am I doing it for?
Yeah. So it's a video case study where we just show you step by step how I've built my business based on what Ron taught me, and then kind of taking it another step with adding in different marketing channels and that sort of thing. And getting it to the point where I've got my business up and running, 3 to 4 deals a month. I'm putting 5 hours a week in. I've got everything automated, systemized, delegated. And so that video will show you how I did that and how you could do it too.
So you discovered early that sellers are a way lot more motivated when they're calling you than when you're chasing them from their ads online. Even though people get an awful lot of deals with those ads we furnish through the Gold Club, they are by far the lowest common denominator of the quality of leads. So you went out and devised your own systems that I didn't even teach you on how to get sellers calling you. So that's what this video is about, right?
That's right. You know, we generate leads from multiple sources, whether they're coming in through Facebook, they're calling us first, or Google, or direct mail, or other stuff above and beyond what you've taught me as well.
All right. Well, how do we get to this video?
I believe the link is thementorpodcast.com/Blair. That's just my first name, Blair, Blair.
So thementorpodcast.com/Blair. All right. The video is free, of course.
Yes.
Well, that would certainly be something I would think all of our listeners would want to visit. While we're on that subject, we also have a link for you to go see. You can write this one down. It's probably below, but it's thementorpodcast/consult. And there you can go get an application to submit to us and set up a planning session where we can sit down with you and go over what's required for you to qualify to run this business successfully and answer any questions you may have. And if you want to talk about what we could do, all the things we can do to help you, just as Blair figured out a couple of years ago. But it's not a sales call, so it's only going to be sales call if you ask questions about, you know, what kind of programs do you have and what they cost and so forth. So go there to thementorpodcast.com/Blair. @mentorpodcast.com/consult. So you got two places to go right now, listeners. And you might as well go there because it don't cost anything and you got nothing to lose. And then maybe when I see you in person sometime, you can hang around folks like Blair here.
That's right. I'd love to see you.
What compelled you to get into this business to begin with? What were you doing before?
I actually used to work in television production, and I was working long hours every week, traveling a lot, and I just realized I couldn't keep doing that forever. I wanted more time with my family and wanted a different avenue to make money, and this was it for me.
Now, how did your wife feel about it when you got into real estate, quit your job?
She actually liked it. I was home more, and even if it was maybe a little stressful in the beginning, as any new business is, she appreciated having me around more, and she supports me 110%, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, that was then. Now that she's got you around, does she still appreciate
it? Yeah. She likes to go to the gym a lot. Get out of the house while I'm here.
Okay, imagine that. All right, yeah. But does your wife participate in your business?
She does not. I want to just keep her a kept woman.
There you go. Well, look, there's a lot to be said for that. My wife has never participated in my business in my entire 36 years in the industry. So but she likes it that way. I like it that way. And plus, make sure we keep her out of harm's way. We don't ever let her get in a position to where if something went wrong, it could come back and harm her. So,
that's right.
Maybe a smart move. On the other hand, we got a lot of couples that work together.
Yep.
And every day, day in and day out, they're together. I don't know if I could handle that, but some people like it.
Yeah, I'm
to
with
me,
you,
I think
Ron.
it's overkill. Yeah, all right. There's a reason I'm on the road a lot, Blair.
Yeah, there you go.
And my wife will tell you that's the only reason we've been married for 53 years because I'm gone a lot.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, sir, you have been very fun to talk to and a wealth of information. So I may want to interview someday in the not too distant future again, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I know I'll see you at our event and our summits and so forth. So thank you very, very much for spending time with us today. And thank all of you for listening. This is just another edition in the Mentor Podcast. If you haven't signed up, go do it right now so you'll be alerted of them, because if you don't sign up for them, we won't know you exist, so we can't alert you. We broadcast them as of this writing every Wednesday, and they're absolutely no cost. So thank you very much. Talk to you all soon. Talk to you soon too, Blair.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ron.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.